And so we need this reminder. We need to be reminded that Jesus is the dude. He's the guy. It changes everything to be attached to him. And we only have one mission. We only have one mission, a single mission as the church. There's only one marching order, and we don't get to amend it, by the way, or swap it out for something else. There's only one. Apprentice, disciple. Introduce people to Jesus. Invite people who know him to attach themselves to him. And then those who have attached themselves to him, to encourage them and spur them on in obeying his way of life, in treasuring his teachings. That's it. That's why we exist. This is why, by the way, we're in this series, this season of introspection as a church. Whether you use the language of church transformation, we've had the language of we have prescriptions we need to take as a church. Whatever language you use, this is what it's about. That every church needs to refresh their focus on making disciples of Jesus from time to time. They needed it. We need it. There's nothing weird about that. There's nothing condemning. There's nothing unfortunate about being told we need to refresh our focus on apprenticing. Every church needs this. And so that's what we're doing. That's what Session is working on right now, by the way, because when we got these prescriptions in the fall, our session was of two minds. On the one hand, we felt like, yes, we need to be refreshed. We need to focus in new and fresh ways on apprenticing. And at the same time, we felt like there are things in the prescriptions that just aren't Bonham. They don't fit us. They're not fully reformed, so that they don't fit us exactly. And so that's why Session said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to take the prescriptions as they are given. We're going to take the call to refresh our focus on making disciples, and we're going to figure out how do we need to do that as a church. Does that make sense? That's what they're working on right now. We're meeting regularly in teams to wrestle with how do we as Bonham remember and focus and refresh our focus on apprenticing. This is what we're looking towards at the congregational meeting that's in the end of March. Does anyone know the date? I'm looking at Robbie. It's like 29th. Okay, March 29th. Like, mark your calendars because Session is going to be like unveiling how we feel we can faithfully refresh our focus on our one calling as a church. Now, can I give you a fair warning? Like, it's not set. We're still figuring it out. We're praying. We're meeting. All that is going on. But can I give you a fair warning? It's going to involve change. It's going to involve change. I don't know no one knows what the change is. We're still praying about that. We're still working on that. But it probably will involve some kind of change. Something that allows Jesus to get into our room and remind us of who he is. And remind us that we're called to invite people who don't know Jesus to get to know him, to invite those who know him to attach themselves to him, and to invite those who are attached to him to have a renewed sense of what it means to follow him and how to obey his teachings. And so, because it involves change, and I know that's all of our favorite thing in the world, change. Change is painful, right? The reason change is painful is because change always involves loss. Always. Every time. Change involves loss. And so we're going to evaluate, eventually, when we all hear, what are the changes? Are they big? Are they little? Do they affect me? Do they affect my kids? All that kind of stuff. I'm going to give you 3 questions right now. This is for free today, okay? 3 questions you can use in light of Matthew 28 and John 20. In light of the dynamics we see there. 3 questions for you to use to evaluate any proposed changes. Are you ready to write these down? Because you're going to hear about the changes and you're going to think, there was some helpful way I was supposed to think about these. What were those 3 things? 3 questions to ask. Number 1, how will this help me grow as an apprentice of Jesus? That's one lens to look through, one question to ask. Any of the proposed changes, how is this going to help me grow as an apprentice of Jesus? Does that question make sense? Number 2, how will any of these changes help us either introduce people to Jesus who don't know him, or invite people who know him to attach themselves to him, or help us invite all of us to grow as disciples of Jesus in hearing and obeying his words. So I know that's a longer question. Yeah. So the first one is, how will these changes help me grow as an apprentice? And let me summarize the second one. The second one is, how will these changes help us apprenticing? Does that make sense? How will it help us be about the business of making disciples, which is our only business, by the way? And then the third question is this: where is fear tempting me to lock the door? Does that make sense? Just to be self-aware, like, where is fear tempting me to go, I'd rather lock the door and not go there? Those three questions are the right questions based on our Great Commission that we have in Matthew 28, and I'm going to coin a new term here, and the Great Reminder that we have in John 20. In light of the Great Commission and the Great Reminder, those are the questions to ask as we continue to reflect on the Great Commission that we have.